Welcome to round 8 of my fight with the MR2 2ZZ engine swap. If you're new to this channel, then why are you starting with round 8? You should go to round 1 and watch the other 7. But anyway, I've installed the 2ZZ into my MR2 Spyder, and I have a water leak. It's kind of ruined things for me on the last episode, and I have two things I can do to mitigate it. First one is to simply tighten the bolts on the water pump to see if the leak goes away. I do not expect that to work. And the second is to get a gasket at Toyota and replace it. Both of these options suck because I'll be doing work that's really tight and hard to get to right now that would have been easy to do when the engine was out. So learn from my lesson and check these kind of things before you do the install.
Fight!
So I have to drain the fluid again. I do not want to spend another 50 bucks on fluid, so I am going to drain it back into the original container and put it back in the car. At least that is the plan. Let's see how it goes. It seemed, other than the original little splatter that came out, it seemed like a pretty good idea until it suddenly occurred to me that I had a 1-gallon jug under a 3-gallon supply. So I quickly put the bolt back in that one before it filled up too much, and I got a second one and put it under the other drain hole, and this still has a long way to go. Alright, I've drained all the fluid, and now the $20,000 question is, when I pull the bolts out of that pump, can I get it out? I mean, it looks like there's room there. I saw a guy online who did it in a XRS with the same engine, and he couldn't get it out. Through there, he had to take a bunch of stuff away, but it looks... well, let's find out. Alright, well, there it is. It actually came out pretty easily. It just fell right out the hole. There was plenty of space, so fortunately it's not a matrix. It feels really good and tight, but I want you to listen to this. I'm going to get really, really close because I don't think you'll hear it otherwise. Is that a bad thing? Oh, I see something here. Right there, there's some red. I'm thinking it might be, maybe, is it red? Yeah, in there it looks a little wet. My wife just picked up the gasket from the auto parts store, and I think maybe I should have just had her grab a whole pump. Bummer. I'm gonna go do it now. As always, it's important to check that the parts look the same. So I checked the whole pattern. I mean, it's hard to put them right on top of each other, but they look good. The only thing I don't like is now they've given me a plastic impeller versus the metal one from before. So, you know, that's definitely gonna have a limited lifespan. And then, you know, it does feel a lot better. The other important thing from what I saw in the video to note on these is that, really important actually, because the bolts have different lengths, as is indicated here with the B's and the A's, and you can see 2 of them are shorter, those are the A's, and then the rest are B's, and they have to go in the right order, because if we put the long one in the wrong spot, then it'll go through and damage something. So one guy got a replacement water pump where you can see how this is a bit longer than that one is. He had several of them that were longer, and he couldn't use his bolts then. So I made sure I checked that before I left the store, and this one looks the same as that one. The only difference really is the impeller. You can tell this must be the original part because it's just seems like better quality. But when I turn it, I can hear that little, it sounds like a little, almost like a squeak. And this one just feels a lot better. Something else to note, the guy, I originally was just going to get the O-ring, but the guy at the parts store gave me the one for the 1ZZ engine. When I got this one and pulled it out, it came with the O-ring, and the number on it was the same, and it looked the same to me. So I'm thinking that the 1ZZ and the 2ZZ water pumps actually have the same O-ring. So I saw a little bit under the car, even though I had cleaned it up and let it sit all night, but it could have been residual. I'm not sure, so I put this cardboard box under there. If I see any drips on it, not that one, but the leaf, in a few minutes or after I start it, then I'm okay. But I don't know, this car seems to be fighting me every step of the way. In the meantime, I'm gonna button up the interior and add all the heat shields and stuff back on and assume everything's gonna be okay. So there's the wiring all done. It's not super pretty, but it's pretty well secured. I was gonna make a bracket for the cruise control here, but I decided that it doesn't have any ground or anything in it, and it takes a long time to make a bracket. I think it'll be fine, just zip tied there. And I even have this little plastic thing can go over it. Like most people, I never remember to put air in the spare tire, so I always make a point of doing it anytime I remove the spare. You should do the same thing. I think I've used enough wrenches for a while, but it's time to take this thing up and off the jacks. So here we go. Alright, so when I just turn the key a little way, all the way just before start, it makes this noise. I assume that's the electrohydraulic pump. There are two signals from that pump to the ECU that go away when you do this swap. They just aren't there because 2ZZ engines don't have the electrohydraulic pump. They've got an actual power steering pump. So that may be the reason for that. I don't know if it's a bad thing. I mean, it sounds like it's running to me, and I don't think it's a good idea to leave the key in and that running. When you start the car, it's supposed to run, so I don't think it's an issue at that point. So far, the steering feels normal, but I haven't really, evaluated that. I was just trying to make sure nothing really bad happened. I'd say the worst part about the short test drive was that the transmission crunches into third gear, and with a new clutch and everything, I don't. Could be a bad synchro. It's a used transmission after all, so that would really suck. I didn't go into fourth because I was in my neighborhood. I think I'm just going to button everything up and maybe do a real shakedown drive and see how it feels then. The throttle's a little bit stiff, I guess, because this part's been added in between, but it's not too hard to get used to. The clutch release is really high, though. I've got to adjust that. So little things, and then of course the idle's still really high. So just a few things to button up, but I think I'm just going to call this finished. I think it's good enough, to move on to fix the other car. I need to get them both running, and I really need to pull my wife's Solar in and do the clutch in that, and then hopefully get rid of this stupid SUV. Okay, so the heat shields are a little bit like a puzzle. This one cuts the corner off. I kind of thought it went into the corner, but it doesn't. It cuts the corner off. But the important thing to note is the big one has to go on before the little one. It goes on this way with the little extra piece underneath, and they share a bolt down here, so the big one has to go on first, but don't put the bolt in yet. Whereas up here, they share a common stud, but there are actually two nuts. So you can put that one on, should put that one on before the other one. So kind of a weird way to do it if you ask me, but basically goes like this. And then, you know, the one bolt down there, and the second nut goes up here. That's how the right heat shield goes on. Don't put that one on yet because it shares a bolt or nut with the big one. So I have a note saying that I had wires running, one on top and one below, that was accessible through like one of these holes down here or something. And I believe that's this guy. I think he actually runs around the outside, not through here, but it does connect up into here. Okay, I finally figured out the routing of that silly thing, because my video showed that the white one attached there, and so did my documentation. So I put that back. I undid this one, which plugs in. It does go there, but it's the last one. The white one I didn't know goes in the bumper there, and then the other gray one goes onto the bumper here, and the excess gets, oh, zip tied or something. FYI, I was having a real hard time getting, you know, holding the bumper up with one hand while trying to put these in with the other, just like I had trouble getting the bumper out with these still attached. So I found out you can do this afterward. You just have to pull out the black thing and then run the cable up inside and through it to here. You just have to be careful. These plastic housings get brittle, and I had a real hard time. You push the clip in and pull it out. It looks like, you know, either or both sides. I was able to do it on one side. So yeah, then you can just connect it after the fact, stick it back in. When you're putting on the hood, it's a good idea to stick something in there in these corners to protect the paint, as I've done over there. I, in my infinite wisdom, thought I would only need it on the one side because I'd be controlling this side, but somehow yet I managed to crunch the paint. So do yourself a favor, put something like this in between both sides while you're doing this until it's secure. So I just got back from my test drive, and I have to say, overall, I'm very disappointed. So what's disappointing me? One, the third gear synchros in that transmission are apparently bad. It crunches every time. I can't baby it. No, soft shift, hard shift, quick, slow, it doesn't matter. It crunches every time. As you know, it's $2,500 to get that, and it is not easy to take out to fix or have fixed. The transmission before this last one, I had a problem. That's why I brought it in. It's a 5-speed, and I brought it to a shop and said, you know, synchros are going bad, I guess. And it was $1,800 just for parts, he said. So if I decide that I wanted to suddenly start working on transmissions and I need the synchros, is it going to be $1,800? I don't really know, but I don't work on them, and that would be new for me, and I have to take the transmission out, and that is not an easy job, and I'm really unhappy with that. Two, the cruise control isn't working despite all my efforts. You know, I was very careful with how I wired that, and I'm pretty confident in the fact that it was wired correctly. I'll have to check into what's going on there. Maybe it's the wrong cruise control computer. The light comes on green when I turn it on, and then when I try and set it, it blinks green, which may mean something I can look up. I don't know. Third thing is, it makes some kind of a noise. It sounds like almost like valve tappets, and it happens just before it goes into lift. I don't know, it sounds bad, almost like it's out of oil. So if you know if this is normal or not, please let me know in the comments, because maybe it is. But it's disconcerting. I tried to record the sound just now, but with the engine unloaded, it wasn't making the sound. And maybe it's transmission even, because when I backed in, there's not a lot of load there, right? It's only a little bit, and it was making that sound. So I don't know what's going on with that, and it's disconcerting, however. And I know this is a weird thing to complain about, but the shift knob. I bought a brand new shift knob. It was an eBay part. It was supposed to be a replacement for a matrix shift knob, and I liked the way it looked and the shape. But I went and put it on, and it got tight. I felt like it was about tight enough, but it was upside down. So I figured, well, it's got to be right setup, so I turned it more, and then it loosened, so I felt like it was just plastic threads in there, and now when you shift, it wants to roll around in my hand, and it's very annoying. I'll show you what it is so you don't buy it, but either get the real Toyota one or some other eBay knob, I guess. And next on the list is this. Let me show you. You may notice if you look down there on my freshly painted white engine, look at the CV joint, and then look at the black line of grease it's sprayed all over the engine. So apparently that CV joint boot is losing its grease. I know it's not cracked because I checked them out ahead of time, but I guess it's maybe loose. So that's really nice. I guess I can just do that at the same time I do the transmission, right? That's the bad stuff. In my opinion, it's really bad. Of course, the high idle still maybe an issue, right? The good stuff is that the car feels really good. It feels like it should have. Like, this is how they should have built it in the first place. If the 1ZZ stock with 5-speed was, say, 100%, this feels like 120, 125%. So it's not going to beat any Corvettes or anything, of course, but I mean, it's a 25% is kind of like a lot more, right? It's a noticeable, substantial amount. It's not enough to think, oh, I'm the king of the world now or anything, but good. It's really good. The other thing is when you go into lift, you know it. Not only do you feel it, but you can hear it. It gets really, it's like a big whoomp sound. I mean, it's just really, and it's really loud. In fact, for me, it's a little too loud. I'm not a huge fan of really loud cars, but the rest of you will absolutely love it. I like it because it really kind of feels like, hey, this thing's moving now. I'm making noise. People know I'm going, right? I'm on this thing. But I prefer a little less. But most of you think that was really, really good, actually. So that's a good positive. The exity clutch is really nice. It feels like a really solid grab when the clutch engages. And I'm afraid I meant to baby it, but what happened was I got excited about getting it up to, over 8,000 RPM. I shifted. I was in race mode now, and I was just doing it. And I'm like, oh no, I forgot I was supposed to shift normally for a while until the clutch gets bedded in. So hopefully I didn't overheat it or anything. But it does feel really good. I'm real happy with that. And now that I've adjusted the clutch pedal, the feel in the clutch pedal is also really good. So those are positives. And I don't know. I guess stay tuned to future episodes for fixing some of this stuff. But I got to get on my wife's car because it doesn't work right now. So anyway, it's a long rant, a lot of talking, and I'm really sorry about that. I'm going to try and make future episodes shorter, more to the point. It's hard to go against your nature, so it's hard for me to cut this out. I get 2.5 hours worth of video, and I have to shave it down to less than a half an hour. Really, I guess YouTube says it should be 12 minutes or something. I don't know. 10 minutes is some kind of magic limit that people don't want to watch anything over that. Maybe I'll just break them into more pieces and put them out more often or something. I don't know. Well, let me know in the comments how good or bad this is. If you've got a attention span, then you're probably fine with it. But even I look sometimes at a half-an-hour video and go, maybe later, when I have more time. So, thank you. So I heard back from Monkey Wrench Racing, and they decided that they were going to replace the third gear synchro for free and pay for shipping of the transmission. So I'm really happy that they're standing behind the product. So thank you, Monkey Wrench. Now I just have to take the transmission out. Wish me luck. So that is officially the end of the final round of the Toyota MR2's 2ZZ engine swap, yada yada yada. And the question now is, who won? Well, I was ahead the whole time, and I kind of felt like I won after I got the engine fully installed and then started and eventually even drove it. But with the long list of problems I've had with it, I kind of don't feel like I won, especially since I can't drive the car now with the transmission out and on its way to Monkey Wrench Racing for repair. So, I don't know, a draw? Maybe a draw. But either way, that is the last in this series on the install. So I hope that it helps somebody out there. And if you want to do this install and you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them either in the comments below if you feel it's something for everybody, or send me an email at antimattergarage@gmail.com, and I will do my best to answer as long as I have the time. Until then, stay tuned on the channel for repairs to some of those things and watch a clutch install on my wife's Solara, and then hopefully at some point I'll get back onto the Corolla, and hopefully these episodes will be a little bit shorter. So like I said, I'm working on that. Anyway, thank you for watching.